Millions of people call themselves millionaires, but most of them can't actually spend $1 million. They are what we call paper millionaires. They look at a spreadsheet, see a 7-figure number, and feel a sense of security that might actually be a total illusion. The truth is, the gap between having a high net worth and having actual usable wealth is massive. So how many real millionaires exist without counting their house? The answer is way lower than you think, and the reality of that number changes everything you've been told about how you should build wealth in the modern world. Think about a common scenario playing out in almost every major city right now. Imagine someone who bought a home 20 years ago for $200,000. Today, thanks to a massive real estate boom, that house is worth $900,000. They've paid off most of the mortgage, so they have about $800,000 in equity. They also have $200,000 sitting in a retirement account. On paper, this person is a millionaire. They can tell their friends they have a 7-figure net worth, but can they live off it? If they wanted to retire tomorrow, could they actually sustain their lifestyle? The answer is almost certainly no, unless they sell their home and move into a tent. That $800,000 is completely untouchable. This is the core conflict of modern wealth: net worth versus usable wealth. To understand why this matters, we have to define the problem clearly. In the world of finance, net worth is simply your total assets minus your total liabilities. It is a broad accounting term, but your primary home is an illiquid asset. You can't trade a bathroom for a bag of groceries. You can't pay for a medical emergency with your kitchen island. This creates a distinction between the paper millionaire and the real millionaire. A paper millionaire has a high net worth driven by the roof over their head. A real millionaire has a high level of investable assets. This distinction determines whether you are truly financially free or just financially stuck in an expensive zip code. Now let's look at the big reveal. When we look at global wealth reports, the numbers are staggering. According to recent data, there are roughly 24 million millionaires in the United States alone when you count everything they own. However, when you strip out the primary residence, that number collapses. Estimates suggest that nearly 40% of people who are technically millionaires lose that status the moment you take their home out of the equation. It is like going from a crowded stadium of wealthy people to a small, quiet theater. In many parts of California, New York, or London, being a millionaire is almost a default setting for anyone who bought a house in the 90s. But if those people have no cash flow and no liquid investments, are they really wealthy, or are they just living inside an expensive piggy bank they can't break open? Why does this happen? It comes down to 3 main factors, starting with the real estate illusion. Over the last decade, rising home prices have inflated the net worth of the middle class to historic highs. Because your home value goes up, you feel richer. This is known as the wealth effect. You spend more money because you feel like you have a massive safety net, but that safety net provides zero cash flow. In fact, as the value of your home goes up, your property taxes and insurance often go up too. Your asset is actually costing you more money every month. This leads us to the liquidity trap. You cannot easily spend your house. To get the money out, you either have to sell the home, which means you lose your lifestyle and have to find somewhere else to live, or you have to take out a loan against it, which just adds more debt. Selling the house often means downsizing or moving to a cheaper, less desirable area. Most people aren't willing to do that, so they stay house rich and cash poor. Finally, there is the psychological comfort. People love the idea of being a millionaire. It's a milestone. It makes them feel like they've made it. This creates a false sense of security that can lead to a lack of urgency in building other types of wealth. They think, I have $1 million, I'm fine, without realizing that 70% of that million is tied up in the shingles and siding of their house. To see how this works in the real world, let's look at a case study comparison. Consider person A. Person A has a $1 million net worth. However, $800,000 of that is home equity and $200,000 is in a 401k. Then consider person B. Person B has a $700,000 net worth, but they don't own a home. Instead, they have that entire $700,000 invested in a diversified portfolio of stocks, bonds, and real estate investment trusts. Who is actually richer? On paper, person A has a higher net worth, but in reality, person B has significantly more power. Person B's $700,000 can generate $30,000 to $40,000 a year in passive income through dividends and interest. They have total flexibility. If they want to move to a different country, they can. If they want to pivot careers, they have the cash to support themselves. Person A, on the other hand, is tethered to their house. They still have to work a 9-to-5 job to pay the utility bills and the property taxes on that $1 million asset. Person B has investable assets, while Person A has a lifestyle asset. One provides freedom, the other provides a place to sleep. The hidden danger here is that many people think they are ready to retire because they hit that $1 million mark, but they aren't. Being asset rich and cash poor is a dangerous position to be in during your later years. This is what leads to delayed retirement, high stress, and the painful necessity of downsizing when you are least physically and emotionally prepared to do so. If you haven't built wealth outside of your home, you aren't financially independent. You are just a tenant in a very expensive building that you happen to own. So what do real millionaires do differently? They understand that the goal isn't just to have a high net worth, it's to have a high level of liquidity and cash flow. Real millionaires focus on income producing assets. They prioritize putting money into things that pay them to own them, like dividend stocks, private businesses, or rental properties that generate monthly checks. They treat their primary residence as a liability or a lifestyle choice, not as their primary investment vehicle. They diversify beyond real estate because they know that having all your eggs in one plot of land is a massive risk. They don't just want to look rich on a balance sheet. They want to be able to live rich in their daily lives. We need to reframe how we think about wealth. Wealth isn't what you own, it's what pays you. This is the shift from chasing a net worth number to chasing financial independence. A $500,000 portfolio of liquid income-generating assets can actually be more valuable than a $1 million net worth tied up in a primary residence. Freedom is found in the ability to make choices, and choices require liquidity. If your money is locked in your walls, you don't have choices. You have a mortgage and a lawn to mow. I want your opinion. We've been told for generations that a home is your best investment, making this contentious. However, would you rather have a $1 million house with no debt and no savings, or $1 million invested in the market while you pay rent? Comment house or cash below. The brightest investors choose one over the other because they comprehend compounding interest versus home maintenance. Building money isn't about reaching a figure to feel good. Freedom is the objective. Most chase the wrong number. They are spending decades paying off a gigantic asset that will never pay them back until they leave. To become a millionaire, examine your investable assets. Check the liquid. See what generates cash flow now. To escape the paper millionaire trap and achieve financial freedom, you must adjust your success metrics. Start counting income, not roofs. That is the only way to make your 7-figure milestone meaningful to your lifestyle. Thanks for watching. Subscribe and join our community of wiser investors for more honest, data-driven insights about money. Our goal is to help you overcome illusions and achieve permanent riches. See you next time.